Before we begin this podcast, please be advised that the following episode contains language that some listeners may find offensive and inappropriate. The opinions expressed by the host and guests are their own and do not reflect the views of the podcast producers. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome back to the second installment of Jacob Hearne's story. Last time, Jacob detailed a turbulent home life that set the stage for murder. But as we're about to hear, there's more to Jacob's case than what was reported in the news. Now, Jacob details his first violent offense and run-in with the law in this episode of Voices of a Killer.
So at what age were you and what grade were you in whenever this crime occurred?
I was 19 years old, and I was currently on house arrest and not allowed to be in school.
What grade were you supposed to be in?
I would probably have been close to graduation, actually. So probably close to senior, most likely.
So what would cause you to, you're not, doing illegal drugs, but you obviously have some kind of issues, family life and things like that. What would cause you to be on house arrest?
Well, when I was 14, a woman was trying to murder my mom, and I stabbed her with a letter opener.
So when you were 14, someone tried to rob your mother?
They were in the process of kidnapping me, and my mom was just trying to get me away from them. And the woman tackled her and was beating her into the ground. And I had a letter opener in my hands that was 8-inch blade, and I stabbed her in the back once. But unfortunately, that was enough. She died later on that night.
So you actually killed this woman?
Yeah, I wasn't trying to kill her. I was just trying to get her off my mom.
I understand. So, well, obviously, no. But yeah,
Yeah, she did die.
So what? Yeah,
part of why I'm here.
Oh, I thought you were here because of your grandmother.
Oh yeah. I have 2 murder cases.
Okay, so okay. We're gonna back up a little bit. The day the stabbing happened, what were you doing that day to be with your mother? Where were y'all going?
We were planning on going to the river just to hang out, with some friends. A little river party we had with her and her boyfriends and their friends.
And where were y'all at whenever this occurred?
We were in this back wooded area close to Farmington off Highway H.
What kind of area?
It was like a wooded area, like a backwoods.
Oh, okay. So y'all are out there. Okay. So, and this lady that got stabbed, where did she come from? Okay. So her name was Alicia. Her boyfriend, Danny, I don't remember his last name. He worked with my mom's boyfriend, Sam Swallensberg, in his business all about trees. We were at their house, at my mom and her boyfriend's house at the time, just hanging out, getting ready to go, and Danny showed up at the house in his truck looking for a chain to pull Alicia's car out of a ditch because she had just gotten into a crash. Apparently this was all an elaborate scheme, but anyway, I volunteered to help them pull the car out of the ditch with the chain and his truck, and yeah, so that's how that led to most of that. You say elaborate scheme, there was not a car to actually be pulled out? Is that what you're saying?
There was a car accident, but the car, I think, was placed because the way it was crashed, it looks like way more total than it should have been, considering what she crashed into. The whole car looked like she had rolled, but according to her, she had just turned really sharply, but lost control of the vehicle and slammed a boulder.
Did you get in the car with them to go out there and help them?
Like, Alicia wasn't with him at the time. She was talking to a state trooper on the road.
Okay, so you go with him.
Yeah, I went with him. I helped him pull the car out. I hooked the chain up for him, and he pulled it out, and I just kind of helped him direct it a little bit off the road.
Where's your mom at?
And my mom was busy still packing stuff. She had previously just yelled at me. I was apparently bugging her. She was looking for a case of beer that was supposed to be there for her to grab and take with us. But yeah, she was frustrated. She told me in her words, to fuck off, essentially, for a few minutes. And so I did, in a productive way, I thought.
Yeah. So after they pulled the vehicle out, what happened after that?
So yeah, Alicia finished talking to the state trooper, and he left, apparently accepting her BS story. She made up this tale about a mini hurricane coming on the road and distracting her, whatever. But she was drunk off her ass and also high on Xanax, apparently. But yeah, so we hopped in his truck, and I thought we were done. He was just going to take me back home, but they took me to their house, which they shouldn't have.
Well, so do you think at this point were they being like sexual towards you or what?
Well, Alicia had just lost custody of her kids, and she had taken a weird interest in me. So my mother had noticed a previous night at a campfire we were chilling at.
She came on to you?
Well, not interest in a sexual way, at least not that I know of, but I'm oblivious to such things.
Well, then what kind of way?
Or, I don't know, she seemed like overly friendly, but not, like I said, I'm not an expert on romance.
Well, I mean, Jesus Christ, she tried to kidnap you, and the night before she's in you some kind of way. I mean, what's...
Right, yeah. I'm not sure.
Well, Jacob, it's time to open up her eyes. She was, trying to... it sounds like to me, I mean, what else? I mean, come on.
Well, the reason that I have really poor self-esteem and confidence. So I was, back then, I was like a really overweight, nerdy kid. So I never saw myself.
No, I understand all that, but there's got to be a reason. Right. So let's keep going and figure out, maybe we, as I ask the question. So they take you over to what are you saying on the drive? Hey, that's not the right turn.
Honestly, I was actually kind of like meek about it. I was just quiet. She told me that she was going to that she was taking me to get some Lunchables and some soda. And
how old are you at this time?
14.
Okay.
Yeah, it was odd. But I mean, I just kind of went with it because one of my main vices is gluttony of food. And so, yeah.
I understand. So
I'm also a very naive person at this point.
I can see that.
When I first dialed Jacob up, I was expecting to interview him about the murder case he caught in 2022. But Jacob catches me off guard by revealing that he has not one, but 2 murders to his name. This first murder case took place 5 years earlier after a kidnapping gone wrong. Jacob tells me that an acquaintance by the name of Alicia concocted some convoluted ruse to fake a car crash and abduct Jacob. Once she'd isolated him, Alicia then lured him back to her home with the promise of Lunchables. Without hesitation, Jacob complied. The whole incident Jacob recounts is deeply strange, and Alicia's motives remain unclear. Was she delusional and spun out on drugs? Did she have a perverse sexual interest in her friend's son? Whatever her true intentions with Jacob were, he willingly rode in their car home, genuinely accepting Alicia's story and oblivious to whatever danger he was entering. It strikes me that at 14, Jacob was just a kid, gullible and off guard as he waltzed into a trap. Only when Jacob's mother hurtled onto the scene, accusing Alicia of kidnapping, did the reality of the predicament dawn on Jacob.
So, y'all go over to their house. Do you actually get out and go inside?
Yeah, showed me they had a horse and a cat. She was showing me her animals. It was weird. And I was starting to kind of pick up that something was off.
What do you... That's what I was going to ask you. Do you start to feel something like she's just being too weird and too into you?
Yeah, but at that point, my mom had realized that I was gone and had shown up. She was like yelling outside their property line on the road.
So she came over? So mom came over?
Yeah, she came over.
Yeah, she was yelling and stuff at the house with y'all in it?
Yeah, she was yelling for me, my name, telling me to get in the car and let us go.
And did Alyssa come out and kind of defend herself and yell at her, or what?
Yeah, there was my mom wasn't trying to be physical with her. She was just worried about me. But Alicia is she started acting really weird. She got super hostile, and I sensed danger. Honestly, I saw her go around and at my mom at a weird angle, and she tackled my mom and pulled her to the ground. Mom didn't resist or fight much at all, which was really strange.
So she actually tackled your mom to the ground?
Yeah. Very forcibly.
Where's Daniel, or the guy that's her boyfriend? Where's he at?
He was back a few paces, just kind of watching with his arms crossed, with laughing kind of.
Yeah.
Amusing to him apparently, but I was freaking out.
So you freak out enough. Do you actually go? You have something on her? You located this, sharp object?
Yeah, I had a letter opener in my pocket because a friend of mine had given it to me because he was obsessed with Assassin's Creed and whatever, and he had this whole background story. I think he had some issues, but he told me that I was part of his creed, and he gave me this letter opener, and I don't know, and I kind of held on to it because I really respected this particular friend. But anyway, yeah, I had this letter opener on me.
Yes.
And I said Alicia was beating my mom into the ground forcibly, and choking her out, and I thought my mom's life was in danger. So without any hesitation, I pulled the letter opener out, rushed forward, and stabbed Alicia one time, and pulled the knife out and backed up.
Where did you strike her at in the back?
It was right below her right rib cage and at a kind of upward angle. And apparently it accidentally nicked one of her lungs.
Whenever you approached to stab her, was her head closest to you, or did you approach from behind?
It was closer to
the side?
Yeah, like it was. She wasn't facing me. I was directly at her back.
Okay. And you didn't actually hit the rib. You went underneath it in the back?
Yeah, like it was like a lucky hit, I guess. Like I just barely missed her ribs, apparently.
Did you feel like you put a whole lot of, strength and pressure into it, or you did it just to kind of, stop her? How sharp? I mean, it's a letter opener, so it can't be that sharp unless you guys sharpened it, maybe?
Yeah, no, I didn't sharpen it myself, but it was it kind of looked like a prison shank, honestly. It had black duct tape, and it was a really jagged Japanese blade. I mean...
What was her reaction when that went in? Did she immediately stop, or was she raging? Or
Yeah, it was like a bucket of cold water got dumped on her. She was surprised, and like, she didn't yell out or anything, but she got off my mom and backed up.
She got off your mom. You said you pulled it out and backed up. Were you still holding on to it?
Yes, I was afraid that she was going to turn around and jump on me. She was a well-built lady, honestly. She was just an old biker.
And what is her boyfriend doing after he sees you stab her?
Well, at first he doesn't do nothing. He's surprised. But as I back up, seeing my mom's okay and she's getting up, and I turn around and head back and start heading towards the car. And then Danny tackled.
And you're 14 years old.
Yeah, 14.
Well, let me ask you this. Alyssa that got stabbed, did she say anything or fall back to the ground, or she just backed up and stopped and looked at you?
She got off my mom, backed up, and then she kind of stumbled and sat down, and then she kind of laid down. She was still breathing and she was conscious, but she seemed like she was in some pain. She had a light stream of blood coming down her back.
And then what's your mother doing? Is she watching her do all this, or is she looking at you, or she
went from surprise to panic to stumbling to her feet, and then she rushed to the car. She got into the car real quick. She wasn't really too worried about anything else at that point. She kind of just went with it.
And where did you head to?
Like I said, I turned around, and after I knew my mom was all right, my mission was,
get out,
successful, protect my mom. So I was starting towards the car when Danny, he came to attack me. He came at me, so we started wrestling, and he punched me a few times, and he was mainly just trying to get the letter opener from me.
Yeah, did you try to stab him?
No, I was just, I probably would have, because I kind of thought he was trying to attack me, but sure. I was trying to get away.
So he tackles you. What's the end result of him getting you to the ground? And basically, does he get the knife from you or what?
Yeah, he got it from me. And like I said, for a second there, he kind of hesitated. He kind of looked like he wanted to use it on me for a second, but he thought better of it and kind of tossed it into the woods by his house. And then he got off me and went to Alicia.
And what was Alicia? Okay. Now, this time, what's Alicia doing still? She's still just on the ground, kind of?
She's just kind of laying there with labored breathing. She's also kind of wheezing, but she's conscious.
Yeah. Did you get up and leave?
Yes. Me and my mom just we hopped in the car and we went back to her house.
So that's a pretty tough situation, 14 years old, and you see your mother in danger. Obviously, it could have been handled differently, but that is not a good decision you have to make. And every boy loves his mother. So you happen to have something on you, probably never realizing that, obviously you're not out there running the roads thinking I'm ready to use this thing. But something did come up where you had to take action. That's a really tough one for judges and prosecutors in society to kind of swallow if they really take everything into consideration.
Jacob's decision to stab Alicia came as a shock to everyone, himself included. Taking a glance at the 14-year-old bespectacled teenager, you wouldn't have guessed he had it in him. But Jacob describes a strong instinct that came over him to protect his mom. Being a physically powerful woman, Alicia easily tackled Jacob's mom to the ground, which Jacob interpreted as an imminent danger to his mom's life. In a hot surge of adrenaline, facing this do-or-die moment, Jacob pulled out a letter opener he carried with him, a cheap piece of merchandise from the Assassin's Creed video game franchise. As if mimicking a hero in a video game he'd played, Jacob stabbed Alicia once in the back, giving his mom an opening to escape. According to Jacob, this wasn't a premeditated attack on Alicia's life. It was a desperate attempt by a 14-year-old to rescue his mom from a dangerous situation. Jacob recalls the panic as he and his mom fled the scene. With their last glimpse of Alicia, however, she had been fully conscious, and neither suspected that the wound was life-threatening. After the break, Jacob learns the severity of Alicia's injury in police custody.
What's the discussion like whenever y'all are riding back in that vehicle? Do you remember?
I don't remember the exact words. I'm on an adrenaline rush at the moment, so I'm kind of like panicky.
No, you don't understand. I mean, well, you probably do understand, but that little incident you just went over with me, when you're driving away with this car, you just got a new memory stamped into your brain for the rest of your life. Something tragic like that happens, man. Your brain goes through some weird stuff. So, do you remember any kind of discussions that you guys had on the way back?
Well, yeah, like I said, I don't remember the words very well, but I know that I was putting on the front of bravado and like bravery, trying to sound tough, but really I was like freaked out.
Sure.
I remember exactly what I was saying, but I was trying to like ump up myself, feel better about it.
Did y'all discuss anything about police or the victim dying or hurt or anything like that?
Yeah, I remember Mom said we were going to go back home and we were going to wait like a couple hours or so. She called my grandma. My grandma came like 15 minutes later, and we were just sitting there. We waited for an hour for the police to come, but they never did. And my grandma left. We left and went back home.
Told your grandma what happened?
Yes, she was. Yeah, I told her exactly what happened in better detail. Fresh in my mind then.
Did you get any news of her passing, Alicia?
Yeah. So on our way back home, and we actually finally passed the police cruiser. The officer was booking it back towards, I guess, where they were living.
Right.
But he stopped us. We got home. We ate dinner. I was watching YouTube, and there was a knock at the door. And an officer was at the door. He had asked me if I was Jacob Hearne. I said yes. Told me to step out. The whole routine. He arrested me. Apparently, he was with a marshal too. We went back to the station. My grandma followed. They interrogated me. I told them what happened. They actually told me that they didn't tell me directly at first. I was waiting for them to start the interrogation, but he was on the phone, and the marshal guy was saying that they had just grabbed me and brought me in, and they mentioned that Alicia had died. And my first reaction was, she's dead? And I started crying. I didn't want her to die.
Yeah.
I was really upset. I believe all life is precious. I was honestly just trying to get her off my mom. I was not trying to kill her.
Well, you're a 14-year-old kid. Like I said, it's not like you were a killer before, and that's why.
Right.
And what you did was wrong, but that's really difficult for, like I said, judges, society, and all that to start trying to wrap their head around what we do. What do we do about that? It's a tough one.
At first, they didn't suspect me as being the one who did it. Apparently, they didn't have the whole story yet. At first, they were really suspecting my mom of doing it, which was surprising.
Yeah.
But I guess not that surprising, but I don't know.
Did her boyfriend basically, pin you to it?
Yes, he had this whole spiel, he told them about how it was some crazy dramatic movie scene. There was rain. I was doing some crazy knife maneuver, trying to make the wound bigger or something. I stabbed her several times. There was only one stab wound.
Did you have any nightmares from what happened or anything like that?
Surprisingly, I didn't, which was also that was part of the reason why I started to believe that I was genuinely nuts. Because compared to most people, normal kids, that you don't think we would process death kind of that well or think about things like that and function very well afterwards. At least not after a certain period of time. But I was surprisingly all right.
Let me ask you this: do you play video games where there's people getting shot and stabbed?
Yes. Like I said, very violent video games, so I was kind of desensitized. Or I was.
Do you feel like whenever you pulled out that knife and ran over and stabbed her, that was just another video game?
If I really think about it, I probably was thinking this is just another, moment. I could just save and reset here, and if everything turns out wrong, I was probably in a childish mindset of that.
If we really think about how the mind works, we're all just ready to be shaped on the information that's provided to us and how we, take that in and come up with our assumptions, and that's going to shape a lot about us.
Yeah.
You're sitting in front of video games all day long and playing that, it may become your reality in a sense, and then something exciting happens to where you feel like your mother is in danger. It's pretty easy to react, and then you just so happen to have an object, that can get the job done.
Where does a 14-year-old kid learn to stab someone? Jacob attributes this to his history of playing violent video games. By 14, he'd played so many shooter and horror games that had normalized violence and taught him to defend himself by force. Unfortunately, while video games come with reset buttons, NPCs regenerate after they're killed, and the heroes always have a second life. real life was less forgiving for Jacob Hearne. His one act of real-world violence had serious repercussions. Finding out that Alicia had passed away from the injury he'd inflicted left Jacob speechless. Now he had her blood on his conscience and a second-degree murder charge etched into his criminal record. Typically, juveniles in the States are tried differently from adults, with the belief that they're more likely to rehabilitate. If a case is extreme, like murder, however, minors can be tried as adults instead in order to face the full brunt of the law. This was a dilemma the state faced in the aftermath of Alicia's death: how to punish a 14-year-old Jacob for taking Alicia's life.
So let's fast forward. Do you get a charge over this?
Yeah, at first they were trying to charge me with murder second and armed criminal action, and they put me in juvenile detention center for 10 months before they tried me. It was actually, honestly, compared to what I've heard about other juvie centers, it was really like a more secure residential. Compared to other juvenile centers, it was really chill, laid back. Yeah. They had gone reform nations, I guess, and they treated us more like kids as opposed to criminals.
So you do your 10 months there. What happens after that?
So I had just turned 15, and we were like, our last court hearing happened, and we knew it was going to happen. The judge lady decided to charge me as an adult so I could get moved to adult court, and they could wash their hands of me and not, deal with me. They didn't know what to do with me. 14-year-old, not, well, 15 now. Not, so yeah. Yeah, I get put into adult court, spend a couple days in county jail before I'm put on an ankle monitor and released to my grandma on house arrest.
Yeah.
And I'm staying on house arrest for 6 years,
Wow.
Waiting for that to find me. Yeah.
So 6 years on house arrest, that's a very long time. Is that whole 6 years with an ankle monitor?
No, they actually only kept me on it for 3 months before they took me off of it. The person who was in charge of it, she was trying to exploit people from, she was trying to get more money than she was supposed to. We had to pay for it. Was like a private firm that was running these.
That's awful, man. So she was basically doing things to keep you on the monitor and make more money?
Yeah, and also, me and my grandma we really couldn't afford it. She was on disability.
Yeah, because you have to pay to be on that. Right. Yeah. So that's crazy because a third party, they make money for you to be on those things. So now they're going to have the incentive to try to fudge things, and that's crazy. So what's that being on house arrest for so long?
At first, being a kid who wanted to be at home playing video games, it was really antisocial and socially awkward in general, not having very many friends or a social life. It was cool. I was playing games, but I was also like shell-shocked and depressed, not really knowing what kind of life I was going to have now. Thinking I was going to be spending the rest of my life in prison.
Where's your grandma at this time?
Oh, she was staying at home at her house.
And your home too?
Yeah.
Okay.
She was my legal guardian for 10 years.
Okay. Well, what's your relationship like with your grandma as you get older and you're on house arrest and you're with her? Is it starting to get more rocky?
Yeah, for real. It was rough because she had to support me, 24/7. It was one thing where, it was just breakfast occasionally and then, dinner and stuff. And she had an 8-hour break for my, ornery, troublemaking butt and stuff. But then the moment we were there 24/7, it was just rough. It was just, she was used to doing her thing, she stays at home, she's a hermit. She watches TV, plays video and stuff, and I stay in my room all the time playing video games.
Catching the 2017 murder case upended Jacob's young life. Although he was eventually released from county jail and his sentence was downgraded to house arrest, the world Jacob returned to had sharply and irrevocably changed. Thanks to a change in his custody, Jacob was placed in the full-time care of his grandma Phyllis. To his horror, however, the home that had once been a sanctuary away from his mother now felt like an oppressive prison. In America, a house arrest sentence is an alternative that puts offenders under strict surveillance. Offenders pay a monthly fee for an electronic ankle bracelet that confines them to their homes. Wearing the bracelet, Jacob was physically confined to his grandma's home, where he squandered his time away playing video games. Now forced to drop out of school and with no prospects for his future, Jacob wallowed at home without any hope of rebuilding his life. Welcoming Jacob to her home put significant pressure on Grandma Phillies. Now, Jacob's grandma had a second mouth to feed off her meager disability benefits and a young teenager to discipline, despite her old age. Jacob became yet another of his grandma's many burdens, which placed a wedge between the two. Next time on Voices of a Killer, we hear how Jacob's greatest hero, his grandma, became his enemy.
If you want to find out what happens next, right now, you can sign up at patreon.com/voicesofakiller. There you can find bonus content, early access, ad-free listening, and access to our chat community. So go to patreon.com/voicesofakiller to sign up now. Your support is what keeps us passionate about bringing these stories to you. That's a wrap on this episode of Voices of a Killer. A big shout out to Sonic Futures, who handled the production, audio editing, music licensing, and promotion of this podcast. If you want to hear more episodes like this one, make sure to visit our website at voicesofakiller.com. There you can find previous episodes, transcripts, and additional information about the podcast. Lastly, if you enjoyed this episode, please consider leaving us a review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. Your feedback helps us improve and reach new listeners. Thank you for your support, and we can't wait to share more stories with you in the future. Thank you for tuning in. I'm your host, Toby, and we'll see you next time on Voices of a Killer.